Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 986A, and today's date is June 1st, 2016, and the title of the episode is A Glimpse into the Future of What the Economic Collapse Might Look Like. Now, before I get started, I just want to make an announcement. I just uploaded an interview with David Morgan. It is on the X22 Report Spotlight YouTube channel, so you can go right over that channel and you can see the video there. Or you can come over to the x22report.com site. If you scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side, you'll see the video there. You can play it there. Or you can go to newssentinel.com. That's NEWZSENTINEL.com. Same thing. Scroll down a little bit, look over to your right-hand side. You'll see the video there, and you can play it right on the site. Let's get into the economic collapse financial news. Well, the crisis in Europe is getting worse and worse day by day. I know the governments in all the different countries, the central bankers, they're trying to convince us that no, Europe is fine, there's no crisis, it's all under control. Well, this is an illusion to make everyone believe that the economy is stable. But what we're seeing is that the European countries, they are worse off than ever. We see in France, all different workers, the railways, the nuclear workers, they're striking. They're saying we had enough. People are protesting about the labor reform bills. And the European Union statistical agency Eurostat, they show that more than 16 million people are unemployed in the Eurozone. The report also indicates that a quarter of all of those living in EU cities are either in poverty or at risk of falling into poverty. And the crisis is deepening. It is not getting better. We see retail sales in Greece, they have dropped by 1.6%. And when we look around the Eurozone countries, what do we see? We see debt, unemployment, people being very unhappy, refugee problems. Europe is a mess. And then we come over to the United States, where the U.S. government, central bankers, they're continually keeping up the propaganda that everything is okay. But when we look at the information, we realize this is one gigantic lie. We see auto sales, well, it looks like the bubble might be popping. We are seeing that consumer spending on autos has dropped dramatically. Automaker inventories, well, they're at their second highest in 23 years. Remember how they count sales. And this is becoming a problem now because they're channel stuffing the lots. When the manufacturer delivers the car to the lot, that is a sale. It's not when they make the sale to a consumer. So sales are collapsing because the people are not taking cars off the lot. There's no room on the lot. And the manufacturer continually wants to bring more cars onto the lot. And the inventories are growing. And we haven't seen anything like this since 2008. And we're starting to realize that the consumer demand for automobiles, it's dropping. GM, their sales have plunged by 18%. Ford and Lincoln passenger cars plunged by 25%, led by 37% for Taurus sedan. And we see the kickoff to summer, Memorial Day weekend, well, it was a gigantic flop. Now, they're blaming this on everything. They're blaming it on the weather. They're blaming it on the shortened months. They're blaming it on a cloudy day. They're blaming everything except what's really going on here. And that is the American person is tapped out. Remember in real estate, when they told us that new construction, it is surging right now? Well, that's very odd because construction spending is going the opposite way. U.S. construction spending, that plunged by 1.8% in April, and they expected a 0.6% rise. They were completely off. This is the biggest monthly drop since January of 2011. Commercial, healthcare, and education construction, well, that all plunged. And we see communications and highway building, that collapsed by 7.7% and 6.5%. Residential construction down by 1.5%. This is the weakest since April of 2009. So, what are we seeing here? We are seeing everything declining. We see an implosion happening right in front of our eyes. And this is continuing. Manufacturing, dead in the water. U.S. manufacturing PMI slipped to 50.7. It is the weakest since September 2009. And you know we were in the Great Recession at that point. Market, not the stock market, but market the company. For those looking for a rebound in the economy after the lackluster start to this year, well, the trend in manufacturing is not going to provide any comfort. And what's happening right now is that things are really starting to rapidly fall apart. And this is why the U.S. government central bankers are working so hard. I'm sure they're paying themselves overtime to do this, to feed us the illusion, the propaganda that the economy is doing well. They're doing whatever they possibly can to keep that market up, to keep gold and silver down, to manipulate the numbers they can manipulate, to manipulate the bubbles where they can. But when we look at all this information, it is really starting to fall apart. The Baltic Dry Index is now stable at 612. It has not moved. We see Bank of America clients, well, guess what? For the 18th week in a row, they have been selling, getting out of the market. This is the longest uninterrupted selling streak in their data since 2008. It tells you something. The people are realizing what is going on. They need to get out of the market. And the Fed is creating more money, handing it over to the banks, giving it to the plunge protection team to keep this market up as best they can. We see that there are countries and banks around the world that are taking their investments and diversifying them into gold. We see the chief investment officer, Manfred Schlumberger, who joined the Hamburg-based bank in January, expects gold and silver and platinum markets to rebound as much as 40%. And he's saying that people used to go for 10-year German government bonds or treasuries, but as they don't offer any yield, more investors are considering buying bullion. The smart money, the large institution money, who understands diversification, understands gold's function. It is a store of value, and we're starting to notice that a lot of people are starting to move into this. This is why the U.S. government central bankers are continually suppressing gold and silver. We see Russia and Saudi Arabia, they have dumped about $50 billion in U.S. assets between 2014 and 2015. And Saudi Arabia, they reduced their holdings by $26 billion. This is according to the annual U.S. Treasury survey, which was published this week. And something very interesting is that Russia, since 2008, cut their U.S. holdings in half. And they're continually dumping, removing, and moving further and further away from the dollar-based securities. China is doing the same, and many countries are following. Now, we talk about the economic collapse quite a bit. We talk about preparing, getting food, getting supplies, getting medical supplies. And we really need to look at Venezuela, and we need to understand that this is going to come to the United States. Now, I know a lot of people are out there saying, no, this is completely impossible. It will never happen here. But if you were alive back in the 70s, you remember when we were moving from the gold standard to the petrodollar standard, where there was no fuel. You had to go on odd or even days. There was a red flag or green flag, and it was very tough. Actually, it was very tough getting a job. things were not going well for a lot of people. And this wasn't even a collapse. This was switching our monetary system to something different. And when we look at Venezuela, we can see that they're going through a collapse. So if we had that problem just switching, think about the debt. Think about how the system is coming to an end. Think about all the countries that are moving away from the U.S.-based assets. And during an economic collapse, as we can see in Venezuela, 85% of the companies in Venezuela, they've halted production. Coca-Cola, they've shut down production due to a shortage of sugar. Now, if these people haven't stored any food down there ahead of time, guess what? They're going to be out of luck. Because during this type of emergency, and we've heard this before where the credit market dries up, deliveries dry up, people can't get supplies, supplies are not being delivered to stores, and this is a glimpse into the future of what is going to happen here. I mean, we're going to see people that are hungry, people that are desperate, and they'll do just about anything to get these type of supplies. And when the economy melts down and collapses, it's not just food. Toiletries, medical supplies, all these type of things. Shortages start to occur. People start to barter. People start to take these goods and sell them on the black market. And if you need medical care during this type of economic meltdown, well, it's going to be very, very difficult to do. Now, yes, precious metals, will that help? Yes, maybe later on. Will the currency help at that time? Well, it's going to lose value quite a bit. What is going to help is having these supplies on hand, because maybe you can barter them. Maybe you can help a friend out, or you can use them yourself without running to the market. Because what we see out in the market, out in the supermarkets, out in the stores, we see people running because they're scared, they're nervous, they're afraid. And this is why you need to be prepared and ready. I mean, we saw switching from a gold-backed dollar to a petrodollar, we had this huge fuel problem. And there were shortages in stores. People couldn't find jobs. Things started to freeze up in that type of scenario. This time, the economy is just going to collapse. And it looks like other countries are going to start and push their economies and try to take over what is happening right now. It's basically a huge reset, but I don't think the U.S. is going to do the reset. I think we're going to be on the other end this time. And as these countries across the Middle East get rid of their reserves, their dollars in reserves, because countries will not need them anymore because they're not going to pay for the oil using the dollar, they're going to flow back to the United States, and the value of the dollar is going to decrease rapidly. And this is going to be a major, major problem. And this is why everyone needs to be prepared. And whatever you're doing, if you're going to lifereliance.com, if you're getting supplies there, continue to do it. If you're going to Costco, continue to do that. If you're going just to the supermarket, just get the supplies. Actually, the basic supply you should be getting, if you haven't done anything else, is food. You need to be prepared for what is coming. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.